That's great. Chris, can you talk a little bit about the examples that you've seen from the distributor's perspective and from your own work with the DIY blog of how independent artists have approached these independent careers? I know you've touched some massive independent careers your time at CD Baby. What are strategies that you've seen, takeaways you've enjoyed?
Yeah, so one thing we get to see a lot of at CD Baby is successful middle class music achievements, you know. So what's always most interesting for me are the people who are building things on their own and they're not focused on the huge hit single or whatever. They want to make a career over the long term. It's building a catalog over years and years. So one guy who lives in town here, actually, his name's Lance Allen. I'm not sure if you've heard of him, but he is an instrumental guitar player, and he came to my attention about a year and a half ago. And I talked to him a lot and picked his brain about sort of what his strategy was. He's making quite a bit of money off Spotify, and his catchphrase that he always uses is, "I'm making enough from Spotify to pay my mortgage." So what he's done is a few things. He releases music really frequently, probably once a month. He's putting out a new single. He keeps his overhead really low because he's got his own studio. It's mostly fingerstyle guitar playing. Maybe he'll add a few other instruments, but he can put out, as long as the performances are great, which they are because he's amazing, he can put out music very quickly. That's one thing. He's doing a mix of originals and covers, so he's tapping into new listeners through the cover songs that will then come back and follow his original music. He does a lot of collaborations, so that will be featured artists who appear on his singles or what we call compound artists. It's sort of like, when two artists that normally work alone come together and put out a release that way. So then, for instance, in Spotify, that piece of music is showing up in both of those artists' discographies. He works his ass off too, so I feel like that's the most important thing. He early on did a ton of research to find out who playlisters were and made the pitch and made the pitch and made the pitch, and finally, when he started to get enough traction, he then kind of struck up a relationship with these playlisters and said, "Hey, what do you need?" And maybe one of them would say, "Well, there's a lot of acoustic guitar versions of the Beatles' Blackbird, but there's none of them that interest me in this way." So he'd be like, "I'll go record it." So he's basically custom making music for these playlisters, which gives them, a greater sense of certainty that it's going to get placed. Yeah, those are a few things that I think he's doing. I think it also points to the fact that artists today can succeed really well on a particular platform and not do much of anything on other platforms, and that's totally fine. He's doing, I think, most well on Spotify, maybe to a lesser degree on Pandora. But yeah, we see plenty of artists who are huge on YouTube and ignored on Apple Music, or who do tons of physical CD sales and have no presence on Spotify. So I feel like that's really exciting. You can kind of find what the leverage points are for each platform and go where it works.
Those are great. Paul, you want to do anything?